Welcome to another episode of Don't Panic Geocacher. I have an exciting topic today, I think. It is about using AI to solve geocaching puzzles for you by using the programming skills of AI. This is especially for you that do not know how to write computer programs, although even if you do, I still think that you will learn a lot. So, I'd like to make the following deal. If you learned something in this video, please like and subscribe. That way I know that you learned something. That's it. So if you can do that for me, that would be great. So this was inspired by a conversation that I was part of at Geo Woodstock, where somebody was saying that they don't know how to program, but recognized that some puzzles required programming skills. So I'm going to show you how to solve those particular puzzles. That might be too much work to solve by hand, and for a computer it would be easy to do. My name is Arjen, I go by WaterFan5, and I'm here to show you today how maybe to solve some more puzzles. So I'm going to follow the same technique over and over. I'm going to give a couple of puzzle examples inspired by real puzzles. I just recreated them myself. And then we're going to let AI write the program for you. So I'm not going to do any of the programming. In this case, ChatGPT is going to do all the programming. I'm just going to run the program, and I'm only going to use online compilers or tools to execute those programs. That way you can do the same thing. You don't need to have anything installed on your desktop. You can follow and do the same thing with other puzzles. Now, this is a specific type of puzzle that you can solve with this. These are the ones that either require math, complicated math, or require a lot of steps that you either have to recreate in Excel or do some other tools, and sometimes it's simply too much work to do without a computer doing it. So that's what I'm going to show you, how you can explain to a computer how to do it. Normally you create a computer program. We're still going to do it, but instead of you or I creating a computer program, we're going to let AI create a computer program. We'll execute it, and I'm going to show you a variety of languages because different computer languages can have different skills. But each time it is a type of puzzle that we know how to solve, but it is just a lot of work to solve, and either because we want to do it fast or it is too much work to do by hand, we'll have a computer do it. So we think we know how to solve it, we explain in English how it can be solved, we'll tell that to ChatGPT to create a computer program, we're going to have it run the computer program, and that will then solve the puzzle. So that is the way, and we're going to do that with a few examples, all of them resembling real geocaching puzzles, but of course made up by me, and then show you a variety of ways. I'm going to start with different types of problems, and at the end I'm also show you how you can even have it make corrections to its own code, and I'm going to show you that as well, and then of course there's summaries at the end, and yada yada yada. So here's the first puzzle I created. This could be a real geocaching puzzle. I placed it in Oregon, actually a well-known location in Oregon, but we'll see that in a second. And the puzzle is a what 3 words puzzle. So it uses the what 3 words website. We're going to use that later on to verify our answer. And the puzzle is that instead of giving you 3 words, I give you 20 words. And I'm saying the solution is in these 20 words. So now think about how you would solve this. I'm giving you one extra step, telling you that the word value of the 3 words combined is 208. So word value is kind of like give every letter a number and then add the numbers together. So A is 1, B is 2, etc. So Z would be 26. And so monkey would start with an M, so 13, O, 15, and basically you add all those numbers together. To solve this puzzle, you can probably think about what you would do, right? You would have to try 3 combinations and hope that the three words that you pick have a combined value of 208, and if they do, then at least you know you have the right 3 words. Hopefully there's only one combination that goes to the word value 208. We may not know the order yet, but we can worry about that later. There's only so many ways we can order that. That's kind of how to solve it. However, if you would do the math for this, then you will see that there is thousands of combinations that you can try, especially if you have to take the order into account. So that's a lot. However, for a computer to verify 1,000 combinations is nothing. It can do it very quick. So hence, this would be a good one to let the computer solve this problem for us, and then we can take it from there. So in other words, how do we solve this? We ask a computer, try all combinations of 3 words from this list, calculate the combined word value, and we tell it A is 1, B is 2. Sometimes we have to be more exact with computers and tell it step by step what to do. So fortunately, that was also in the original puzzle, but sometimes you have to add these details yourself to get the right answer. So explain it like you would explain it to a child, maybe. And then, so here, finally, see if the total matches 208. And then, as I mentioned, we'll worry about the order later. Once we have the right 3 words, there's only so many ways we can reorder those words. And this is what we're going to ask the AI to do. And here is the syntax that I would use. I start with a single line, and you will see me using this over and over in this presentation. It is write and optimized the language, so in this case Python, program without any libraries, and I will explain that later why I added that. That does the following, and then I kind of paste my text, right? So how to solve is literally what I said here, and then I copied the list of words. That is all AI needs. It can now write a computer program that will solve this puzzle, or at least gets us the correct 3 words. And I will show that next. Okay, so let's try. So I'm using the free version of ChatGPT. It's running 3.5 or 4. It doesn't really matter for this. Both of them will do a similar good job. And I'm going to ask it the information, so I'm pasting that instruction over, right? So write an optimized program. And each time I say optimized, since we don't care about what the code looks like, we just want it to run fast and give it the instructions. And now it will generate code. If you run it twice, it will actually generate different code. It will look somewhat similar, but it will just make variations because, well, that's how it works. And then it explains how the code works. We don't care. We're not here to look at the code. The only thing you want to know is that there's an option here to copy the code, and we're going to do that. And we go to this online Python website. And again, a few things that you need to do. You need to select all the text and then paste the new code in there that I copied from ChatGPT, and then I press the run button. And now we see that it says combination found, decreasing, tidy, boring. Turns out there's only 3 words that combined make 2008. That's good news for us. But if you know what 3 words works, that's the right 3 words, but the order is important. So I'm actually going to go back to ChatGPT and kind of ask it, well, if the order is important, maybe generate the order for me. So I'm going back and I say, give me all orders of these 3 words and separate the words by a dot. So these are the 3 words, decreasing, tidy, and boring. That was the 3 words. Maybe we'll just gonna try. So I can use them on what 3 words? So sure, and then it will give me all the different combinations. And then it says you can use these combinations for what 3 words? Great. So we'll try them out. So there turns out to be 6. That's very doable. So we'll put this, go to cache loop, paste them in here, say convert, and we see 45. That looks good, but it's 84. And remember, we were looking for 45, 1 to 2. So this is not the one. So go back. This is much easier than doing it myself. Like I said, a lot of this is just, it makes your life easier if you have a computer to do it. So we'll try the second one. Nope. The third one. 45, 1 to 2. That looks good. So we now have a good coordinate. So we can scroll down and it will show us a map, and we can see it's very close to the original stash. So that was the coordinate we were looking for. So it has successfully solved the puzzle. So yeah, it worked. We got a program, we ran the program, and it instantly came back with the value. And then because I was being very lazy, I also asked it to give me all the combinations of those words. So there was 6, 3 times 2 times 1 combinations. And then I used the cache sleuth website to kind of test them one by one till we got one that met the right degrees and the right that we needed. And then we got this location. And as we saw, that was kind of like where the original stash is located. So we solved it. So without knowing how the program really worked, we got a solution out of it, and we didn't have to program anything. All we had to do was press this run button. So let's try another one. Random number generator. Now, interestingly enough, ChatGPT is not good at math. And none of the AIs. They're good at text. And a computer program is a kind of like a language or a text. They're good at that. They're bad at calculating. If I feed this, and I'll try that, I'll show it, we'll see that it doesn't know how to do that. But what it will do instead is write a computer program to solve it, even without asking. So that's really what we're going to do. We're not going to go through the step of asking it to solve it because it simply can't. But what it can do is write a program to solve this. Now here, I can explain what this does. It has to do with generating random numbers. So numbers, and in this case, it is a 5-digit number, roughly. And so it describes here what you need to do. And then it says run this 8,300 times and run this 6,900 times. And then we'll get 5-digit numbers, and those will be the 5 digits for the coordinates. Doing this by hand would take you a long, long, long time. In Excel, well, you still need to do a lot, because you need 70,000 rows or something to copy this, or however way. It's doable, but it takes you a while and a lot of copy and pasting. Writing a computer program is much faster, but if you don't know how to program, we're going to write AI do it for you. And that's what I'm going to show you. We're going to have AI solve this puzzle. We're not even going to tell it how to solve it. Because this is kind of like a math question, it will know how to write a program for it. We don't have to understand how it works as long as the program knows how it works. So for the next one, I'm not even going to bother with trying to understand what the solution is. I'm just going to ask it, write an optimized Python program. And then I'm going to paste all the text that I want in there. So I'm pasting the text, which explained what it was, right? I made a random, so it's like copying the cache page over. And what is the output when the function has been called so many times? And it will generate a program. So we see that right here. And it's a nice little short program, because we asked for an optimized one. We wanted it to be fast. Don't care about other aspects of code. And same thing, pasting the code in here and press run. And we see the output right here. Make it slightly bigger. There we go. So you can see that the output is 17,460 and 24,799, the same coordinates that we had before. So it has successfully executed the job. And this was the function that did it way faster than you could do it any other way. So yeah, we didn't know how it worked, but ChatGPT wrote a successful program, came up with the output, and that is indeed the same parts of the degrees that we had earlier to get to this specific coordinate that we needed. So we've solved technically a very complicated puzzle, but thanks to programming and thanks to ChatGPT, we were able to easily solve it, even without fully understanding how the puzzle worked. So the next one, this is a very common problem that is asked, because it's always surprising how big the number is. So we're talking about US money, and I'm specifying here what denominations to use, because otherwise there might be arguments. Are we going to use a $2 bill? Are we going to use the $20 bills? Are we going to use a penny? So it's better to sometimes be more specific. So as I mentioned earlier, similar to a child, explain it in detail what you're looking for to kind of remove the ambiguities, right? So here the puzzle is, and this would be like a certitude type puzzle where you have to paste an answer, is in how many different ways can you make $42.42? Remember the Hitchhiker's Guide answer to life, universe, and everything is 42? Well, the answer is way more than 42. And I will show you that as well. So we see here two variations where in one case we use two $20 bills, in the other case we use only one, and that's only two examples. We'll see that there is a lot more than two. Now I've mentioned that I use the word optimized in here, and that is because there's many different ways to do this. But because there will be a lot of options, we want an efficient program. We don't care that we understand the program because we don't know how to program, right? That was the whole situation here. But we want a fast program because we don't want to wait for hours for the answer. Just give us the answer. So that's why I write optimized in here. And other than that, I copied just the information over. I didn't copy the example because I can, and it most likely wouldn't harm, but it's irrelevant. The sentence above is enough for it to make it understand. So using US standard money denominations, I don't even put that. I can just say using this, in how many different ways can you make 42? And it will write a program for us. Then we're going to run the program, and then we'll see if it comes up with the correct answer. So let's see what ChatGPT makes of this one. So this is one particularly where the optimized is important because of the amount of solutions. And you can make a guess to think how many different ways you can make $42.42, how you can break it apart. But we're going to write a program. Note, if you would ask this to ChatGPT, it may actually give you the answer, because what it would do in the background is write a program. Since it could execute this program, it would then execute it and tell you the answer. And most likely it will tell you that it will run the program. So sometimes it's able to do that and then give the answer. So here it explains a way. And kind of what it does, just to explain, is to say how many ways can I make 1 cent? How many ways can I make 2 cents? And then so on. And then from 2 cents, how many ways can I now, if I add all the denominations, what is the next number? And it starts adding those numbers together. It's quite a clever algorithm to get to 4242. And so at the end, that is then the total number of ways. So I verified, well, I know the answer, so I can tell you whether the answer is correct. But here what we're going to do is we're just going to copy the code, going to throw it in Python, and then we get the answer. And it should come up right away. And indeed, this is the answer. So if we look at it, it is like 366 million ways. A lot of different ways. So much bigger, most likely, than you estimated. So there was no way to do this by hand. A computer would be the only way to solve this puzzle. Okay, so we've seen a couple of Python programs. And Python is very good at large math numbers, doing lots of stuff where it has to go through all kinds of combinations of things, large number of combinations, and it creates a very compact code. But there's certain limitations that it has, and especially if we use the online version, which can't use libraries, that's certain things it cannot do. So I'm going to show you some examples that the online version of Python would have a lot of problem doing, but other languages will have an ability to do it. So I'm going to show you a common puzzle that you might see. This is actually a standard one that was invented by Einstein, and he said only 2% of the population can solve this. I think nowadays it might be a little bit higher because people know how to solve it. But this is the kind of thing that you see on the right, where you kind of get hints and then you have to fill it out. So we have houses, we have pets, we have cigarettes, and then we have favorite drinks and stuff like that. So that is the puzzle, and then there is clues of who has what dog and stuff like that. And at the end, there's only one question: who keeps the fish? That's the question Einstein asked, right? So in a geocaching puzzle, it may ask more so that it can calculate coordinates, because there's only so many options. It would be too easy to guess. But we're going to see if AI can program a solution that can find this answer. And I'm also going to show you that it can actually find the complete answer. So I'll modify the code a little bit. I won't ask it to do that, but I will show you that it can actually get the complete answer as well. Also here, optimized is important. We want a fast solution because there is thousands, millions, billions of combinations to try. We don't want it to try, we want it just to get the answer. So that's optimized again is important for it to get successful code. I'm going to use a language here called Prolog and a different website that can use Prolog, because this is a logical language, ideal for logic puzzles. It's very different than Python, but it's ideal to solve solutions like this because it kind of is like natural language, and it sometimes looks like intelligence as well, even though this language is very, very old. But it's ideal for problems like this. So yeah, start blank. Typically like to start blank so it doesn't get confused about what I want. And we'll give it instructions, right? So I'll copy and paste instructions over. So we want an optimized Prolog program. Especially in this case, optimized is important because there's lots of ways to do this slow. And then I just paste in the whole assignment, and you can compare. This is identical to Einstein, how they wrote it. And I'll give it that instruction, and we'll see it generate the code. So we'll do that right here, and we'll wait for the conclusion. Okay, now slightly different here because it generates codes, but then it also says that we need to execute query fish owner at the end to actually run the thing. So there's a run button, but we need to type in something as well. So I'll show you that. It's just going to be similar each time when you use Prolog. So we create a new program, paste in the code, but then the last part where it asks what we need to do, we need to query the fish owner. That is what we want to do at the end. So that's what we're going to run, and then we'll see what comes out of it. And we see here that it successfully solved the puzzle, and it says the answer is the German, and that is the correct answer. Although unimportant for this particular puzzle, I'm going to show you that it knows the entire solution. So I'm going to make a slight code change here, and I say give me everything, and I'm going to modify it here as well, that I want the houses, and I'm saying the houses here, and then I'm going to query that I want the houses. And so now we see the solution, the complete solution of what belongs to what. So, and we see here indeed that the German goes with the fish. There's actually a second solution out there. So, but you see it in the same solution that the German still keeps the fish, and then there is no more solution. So, not sure if Einstein knew, but there were actually two solutions to his problem. But in both cases, the German kept the fish, so it's not important. So one more. Puzzle. There's actually several puzzles like this out there, and named it here Turtle. And it says, as a kid, I learned how to program from a turtle. Let me draw you a picture. This code will draw a picture. This is actually a certain computer language. And I can spoil it for you, the answer. It will write numbers. Most of the times when you get a geocaching puzzle, it will kind of write numbers. And this is kind of like what a plotter language is, where it gives plotter instructions. And there was a specific language that would do that. And Since we can't use libraries in Python, we can't draw anything. So Python would be able to generate this, and I will show you that it can generate it successfully, a program that can do it. It just can't run it online. I have to run it on my desktop. So I will show you what the error message is that you see and how to detect that the Python program can't be executed online. And then I'm going to use basically going to do different. I'm going to ask it, do you know what this is? Can you show it to me? It won't, but it can tell me which website can, and we're going to run it on another website that can execute this. That may also not always be the solution, so I'm going to show you a third approach, and that is using JavaScript. We're going to generate it as well, and we'll see if JavaScript can show it, because JavaScript and HTML, so basically web pages, can visualize drawings. And so we're going to use that. So I'm going to solve this in 3 different ways. I'm going to show you the answer to this puzzle. So slightly more complicated scenario. We have this code and we say we don't know what to do with this. So write a program that can do this, right? I'll say optimized. But I don't know what language best to use here. Well, I do know, but I'm pretending not to know. And then going to do this. And it says, oh, I'm going to use Python, right? Now, I'm going to tell you that Python here will fail in the online version. And I will show you later on that it will work in other versions. So it writes a little bit of Python code to do this. So it converts the code that we had before. And we see here kind of like what it's doing, right? So it's forward, backward, left, right, pen up, pen down, because that's really the instructions that are in here. This is like old plotter instructions. And so it says, oh, you can execute that. However, at the beginning it says import turtle, and that's what the online version cannot do. So if I copy this code and try to run it, I get a big nasty error message that says, well, a whole bunch of things, but it doesn't work. So because it doesn't know this module, it can't run this module. There's certain ways that it can do things, but to keep it simple, it doesn't work. So unfortunately, Python was not the correct solution. Okay, so Python didn't work because of the import function that used the library. Desktop version will run fine. So we're going to do something else. We're going to ask for suggestion. What computer language is this, and where can I run this online? So, and it talks about that, hey, you can, this is Logo, and we can use a website like turtleacademy.com to do it. Turtle Academy works. I Googled, I found another one that I like slightly better, but Turtle Academy can do it as well. So I'm using this one, which is Logo Interpreter, and I'm going to give it the code. And similar, I press run, and we see here it nicely drew out the numbers 460, 800. Ta-da! We have a solution to this puzzle, right? So it's another way of how ChatGPT can help you. I still wanted to show you a coding solution, so we're going to do one more. I'm going to use a website called One Compiler. So I'm going to show that. That run computer programs, and I'm going to create HTML JavaScript code. So going back to ChatGPT, and I'm starting blank again, and I'm going to say write HTML JavaScript code in a single file, because that's kind of like the limitation for that online website. And then just paste the code, not even asking anything else. It will figure it out, right? So And so it will create nicely HTML code. It will put some JavaScript in there, so we see it's slightly longer, and again, it looks similar but different. And we'll wait till it's done, and we'll see if it does it correct. So it's not the native language that it was trying to do, so we're going to HTML, and sort of the same approach that we do with all of these, right? I select the text, I replace it with my text from ChatGPT, and press run. And we see there's a couple of problems here that happens. It doesn't completely fit, and there seems to be extra lines. I can somewhat read it right because the darker lines seems to be what we are needing, and it seems to be rotated and mirrored. So we're going to actually give it feedback. Say the orientation seems incorrect, and there are lines between the numbers that shouldn't be there. Also, the space was too small. I understand. And it will just take that feedback and will do something better, hopefully. So we'll try, right? I guess gave it plain English instructions about what I saw, right? Didn't fit. So if we looked at it, didn't fit. It was rotated, so it seemed to be mirrored and rotated, which for coordinates might be painful, but hopefully there was a checker. And we could still somewhat read it, right? We could figure it out as mirrored. There's only so many options. But let's see if it can correct itself. So we have the code. Hopefully it took our instructions, copied it, selected my old one, pasted my new one. Let's run it again and see what it fixed. Well, it fixed 2 out of the 3 issues, right? It fixed the extra lines. They are gone, and it now fits on the page, but it still looks like it's mirrored. Oh well, close enough. So we have a solution. We can figure out that it was mirrored, or at least try a few answers and then get to the right solution. So yeah, so now we have used yet another programming language and yet another tool to execute code. But all of them kind of work the same way. So as promised, I was going to show you that a desktop version of Python could run the code. So you see here that import statement that's in there. In a desktop version, that doesn't matter. It will just download that what is called a library. Hence the sentence had no libraries, because it doesn't work in the online version. Desktop version doesn't care. So when we run it, same way, it will see a nice window, and that's what the online version can't do. It can't pop up a window like that. And you saw it actually drawing the numbers, right? Because they were drawing instructions. It looked like it was drawing a little bit slow. That was actually ChatGPT had put a little delay in there to make it visually show the drawing as a nice enhancement. So yeah, that was the Python solution. So yeah, here's what we saw. Python, although correct, I wasn't able to execute it online, but the code was correct. The logo code, the actual language, we found the website and we were able to run the code. So we can do that. And then the HTML JavaScript code. It created code, but the code had some issues. And so I showed you, if you don't see the result, that you can just ask it to correct the result. And actually, we were able to get to a correct solution by simply giving it feedback in English about what we think went wrong. And we got better code that eventually worked well. So yeah, just again, if it doesn't generate code the right way at first, there's alternative options out there. So these are the websites that I used. So the key summary is, ChatGPT can't always solve the issue, but it can write a program to solve the issue if you think it's a clear task that a computer can execute. And that's kind of like the lesson that you have to learn, is what can a computer solve, what can it not solve? A lot of puzzles it can't solve. It's not great with pictures, but if it can't do ciphers really well. But if you know what a cipher is, it can probably do it, or it can write a program to solve that cipher. But most likely there's an online program already out there. But certainly for mass amount of work, it's ideal to just create and write a little bit of code. And then you see here the programs that I used. Python is great for calculations, text manipulations, but the online version can't use libraries, limiting what you can do. Logo can do drawing instructions. I've seen other puzzles that give me drawing instructions and I say create logo code that is kind of like these drawing instructions, and then it converts whatever it was to logo that I can now run somewhere else and then show what kind of result it works. It's not always perfect, but often good enough to get a coordinate. Showed you can also create HTML and JavaScript, and the website to use, we kind of want one file there, so kind of specified that. And then for logic puzzles, and I showed you a very famous example, and a website to use slightly few more steps, but we got the outcome that we were looking for. So yeah, a couple of different ways to do it. Now a last note, and I've shown this in other videos before, ChatGPT can do a lot more. But it is good at writing code, writing programs, writing text, or analyzing text or analyzing code. For example, identifying spelling and grammar mistakes. Based in the text, it will tell you whether text is incorrect. Can be useful sometimes as well if the puzzle is find the spelling errors. It will point them out for you. It also is pretty okay at getting information, like identifying song authors or getting Super Bowl winners. Let's just say out of 15 for a coordinate, it will probably get somewhere between 10 and 14 correct. It's always something is wrong, but it gives you a good starting point to see if your theory, do I need the first letter of the author or the number of letters, if that is correct, without having to do 15 searches. For math and calculations and mass amounts of work, it's terrible. I've often seen where I had simple puzzles where I had to ask it questions. It came up with the right answers, and then it had something like the instruction said, oh, and add 1. And then it says, oh, this name is 4 letters. I add 1, the answer is 6. It's terrible at math. Don't ask it to do math. Ask it to do a program that does math. It can also do other weird things. It can play chess. It can do Sudoku. If you see something, it might often just be useful to just paste it in ChatGPT. See what it makes out of it. You'll be surprised sometimes what it can do. So that's it. Just some more tips on how you can use AI. Now, as promised when we talked about it, if you learned something, please like and subscribe. That way I know you learned something today and that this was useful. If you have any ideas of things that I didn't discuss here, or maybe you disagree with something, feel free to reach out. I can be contacted on the geocaching.com website, WordOfN5. You can post a reply if you liked it, or leave a comment. It's great as well. If you have other ideas of things that you would like me to explain, you can email me or again contact me at geocaching.com website. With that, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully this will help you solve some more puzzles.